Hello and welcome to Assassin's Creed 3. This is pointing, this to be specific, is Diamond Basin pointing, and it's the last pointing, sort of, that you'll see. It's the last sort of map-based pointing. Anyway, this is, if you don't know what it is, where I go around unveiling the maps. I also collect some feathers and stuff if they're around. But basically it's pointless. You don't have to watch it, it's not related to the narrative at all, it's literally just me collecting stuff and unveiling the map, which is not very exciting, but as an incentive to keep you sweet, I do read off the database entries in like an audio diary format, audio book format. So you'll be able to get those in a handy little delivery service. That makes no sense, but you know what it is. It's pointing. It's the last one. You've probably seen one by now anyway. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing that, and then I'll be talking some post-commentary after. So I'll see you in a minute. HMS Jersey. The British took so many prisoners during the Revolutionary War that they quickly ran out of places to put them all. Prisoners in New York, like the Bridewell, were full, and the British took to using sugar houses and pro-rebel churches in the city. In the harbour, decommissioned warships were put to use as prison ships, the most well-known being the HMS Jersey. The Jersey had and earned the nickname Hell. I wonder if you can guess why. Conditions below decks where the prisoners were kept were crowded. 1,000 men crammed together without light, sanitation and proper ventilation. About a dozen prisoners died every day from smallpox, yellow fever, malnutrition and torture by the guards. I'm not even going to begin describing the food. Well, alright, I'll begin. Inedible and worm-infested, but I won't finish. The British sentiment was the rebels were traitors and didn't deserve any better. At least 11,000 people died on board the prison ships, more than the rest of the war put together. After the British left New York, the US Navy found mass graves in the mud at the edge of the harbour. Those remains have since been placed under a monument in Brooklyn, where Fort Putnam used to be. Ooh. Scary tales. That's crazy though, that more people died in the prison ships than the actual war put together. It's crazy. Right, anyway. Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay runs along the coast of Virginia and Maryland. It's one of the largest bays in the United States, more than 300 kilometres long and up to 40 kilometres wide, and the site of the first permanent British settlement in North America, Jamestown, established in 1607. Every day at 1607, I have a cup of tea and think of it. It's also the site of the Battle of the Chesapeake, one of the most important naval battles of the Revolutionary War. Ooh. War. Peace. Prisons. Right, it's gone to individuals now then. Who have we got? We've got someone who I don't know if is an updated version. I don't think he is. No, I don't think it is. Cool. Right then. Benedict Arnold. Born 1741. Benedict Arnold was a general in the American Revolution and America's best-known traitor. Though I'm not sure that's what he would have been printed on his business cards, Arnold also happens to be a war hero on the American side, though many people don't know that. Before Arnold turned traitor, he had a reputation both for bravery and for generally caring for the soldiers who served under him. He was instrumental in the rebel capture of Fort Ticonderoga in May of 1775, and his leg was crippled during the Battle of Saratoga in 1777, so he certainly put the effort in. Unfortunately, his career advancement was spotty. He had a habit of getting into arguments with his superior officers, which is usually not a good move if you want to promotion. While George Washington recommended him for various commands, other officers had no use for him. When Arnold was given command of West Point in 1780, he probably tried to turn it over to the British in exchange for £20,000 and a commission as a brigadier general. That's the spirit. The conspiracy was uncovered before Arnold could actually betray the fort, and he fled north. Nobody knows for certain why Arnold betrayed the Americans. His frustrations for being passed over for promotion obviously had something to do with it. But there's also speculation that Arnold had significant debts The money had been promised would be sure to settle that. Unfortunately for him, he never received the payment cash, or at least not all of it, since the British don't actually capture West Point. Arnold only received £6,000, and while he did become a brigadier general as promised, nobody trusted him. Once traitor, always a traitor. Ooh. Okay then. Next person. My favourite. Admiral de Grasse, born 1722. Francois-Joseph Paul de Grasse was an admiral in the French Navy and is probably best known for his victory at the Battle of Chesapeake, where he prevented British troops from arriving to reinforce their army in Yorktown. Dr. Grasse was the youngest child of a French nobleman. He joined the military at the age of 11 when he became a page with the religious/military order of Malta. He joined the French Navy proper in 1740. By 1775, he was serving as a captain. He helped secure Saint-Dominique, now Haiti, for the French, while it probably looked good on a resume at the time. Dr. Grasse was promoted to admiral in 1781, and despite failing health, he was given orders to sail for America to help Washington. His victory at Chesapeake was so significant that Washington wrote to him the day after Cornwallis surrendered at Yorktown, saying the honour of the victory belonged to de Grasse. De Grasse died in 1788, just before the beginning of the French Revolution. Despite his role during rebels in America, de Grasse was considered nobility in France, and his estate was ransacked by French revolutionaries. His family fled to the United States, where they were welcomed as the children of a hero. I guess hero and oppressor all depend on your perspective. You say tomato, I say tom-ahato. You say potato, I say pot-ahato. Actually, no one says pahato. That's true, no one does say potato. Pahato. Pahato. New type of hat. Looks like a potato, not a potato. I think we've done that one. We have done that one. Let's go down to the next one. Events. Other. I didn't even have to look at this to know what it is. Oh, there's actually two. Okay then. Battle of the Chesapeake. Date September 5th to the 13th of 1781. In this battle, French ships under Admiral de Grasse held off a British fleet attempting to occupy Chesapeake Bay. I know it doesn't exactly sound scintillating, but bear with me here. This was critical to the British surrender that ended the war. I don't like to talk about it, but I will. George Washington gave de Grasse a choice between attacking New York City, their British stronghold, or Virginia, where British troops were stationed. De Grasse chose Virginia. The waters were easier to maneuver, and he didn't have the equipment that a siege of New York would require. De Grasse was stationed in the West Indies, but left in secrecy, or he tried to. The British noticed the warship missing. I don't know about you, but I'd find it suspicious if a bunch of warships weren't missing. It raises questions, and it wasn't hard to guess where they might be heading. The British Navy sent ships to Chesapeake Bay to cut de Grasse off. However, they went the fast way, while Dr. Cruz took the scenic route, staying out of sight and out of the major shipping lines. So when the British arrived at the Chesapeake, they found it completely empty. They sailed on for New York to meet with the rest of their fleet there. In leaving the Chesapeake Bay empty when de Grasse arrived at the end of August, clever. And by taking the long way round, de Grasse collected enough sea miles to qualify for a free hip flask. The British fleet returned less than a week later, but the damage was done. They were outnumbered by the French forces occupying the bay. I believe the technical term here is whoops. There's another one, but this begins with F, so I better not. De Grasse's fleet sailed out to engage the British on open water. They fought for only 2 hours before night fell. It was the only time they would actually fire their guns. De Grasse led the British south, away from the mouth of the harbour, leaving time for French reinforcements to arrive from Rhode Island and occupy the bay again. Finding themselves badly outnumbered and outmanoeuvred, the British returned to New York, effectively abandoning the troops they were supposed to be supplying in Virginia. The battle was technically a draw, I'll take that. However, the larger victory came when the British troops in Virginia realised they were cut off and surrendered, effectively ending the revolution. Okay, and the events that strictly follow that, I believe. Battle of Yorktown, date September to October 1781. While small skirmishes were to continue until 1783, Yorktown was the last major encounter between the British and the Continental Army, effectively ending the American Revolution. In the summer of 1781, the British General Lord Cornwallis was ordered to secure a deep-water port in Virginia. He had chosen Yorktown on the Chesapeake Bay, and by the end of September, his troops had fortified the city and were awaiting resupply from ships in New York City. Without Cornwallis didn't know was that the ships he was expecting for resupply had been defeated by the French Navy at the Battle of the Chesapeake in early September. He could have probably done with knowing that. On the rebel side, George Washington had just secured the help of the French and was anxious to put his new troops in the field. He favoured an attacking on British stronghold at New York, but since he didn't have the troops or the equipment for that, he settled with attacking Cornwallis at Yorktown. I'm sure Cornwallis would have been flattered by the news that he was second choice. The main force of the Continental and French troops marched to Yorktown near the end of September and began to settle in. By October 6th, the trenches were built and the siege had begun. The key to Washington's strategy was the artillery brought in by the French army. It bombarded the city for more than a week, wearing down defences until French and Continental troops successfully stormed two redoubts outside the city. On October 14th, this put the artillery in a place where it could reach the city itself, and Cornwallis' defences quickly crumbled under the onslaught. He surrendered on October 19th. The fall of Yorktown essentially broke the political will in Britain to not continue the war. It had become too costly. Parliament started peace negotiations, and British citizens began to stamp their tiny feet and practice their speeches about how the colonies were smelly and uncivilized, and we didn't want to control them anyway. Yeah, stinky colonies. And this is probably where that BBC programme of Taboo comes in, because that's based on when they were doing peace treaties, because the guy of Taboo, I forget his name then, Delaney, was trying to keep hold of a certain piece of land. Okay, then let's go down to inventions. And we've got one, I believe. We have got one. I think I made this accidentally without knowing about it. Electrostatic generator. An electrostatic generator is a device used for generating static electricity for use in scientific experiments. In fact, that's actually why it was named an electrostatic generator. This particular machine is an early version of the ones you'll find in science museums. You know, the things they use to make children's hair stand on end, which reaches them that science can be fun. Of course, since then, there wasn't enough science to fill a science museum in the 18th century. Electrostatic generators were of somewhat limited use, until the invention of the Leyden jar, which could actually store the electricity they created. Probably no way of actually using that. Right then, Encyclopedia of the Common Man. We've actually got all of these because I've actually done it. It's in a future pointing episode, but I'm saving that one until we've actually finished the game. Blacksmiths. Blacksmithing was a crucial activity in colonial America, and the blacksmith was often considered to be the most important person in a village. Forges and tin shops provided everyday items for the household utensils to farming tools and building supplies, nails, hammers, axes and such. Along with the all-important horseshoes, think of them as being like tyres for your car, essentially for travel really. Blacksmiths were also a vital part of the logistical chain of any army, since their highly socialized skills were required to either produce or repair weapons and military equipment of all kind, in addition to providing assistance in taking care of horses. Unsurprising, really, if you're working with a lot of metal things that are often broken. It's handy to have someone around who can fix them. Next one. Doctors. During the Revolutionary War, medical knowledge and practices were only beginning to evolve to what they are today. Doctors and nurses were rare, often lacked formal training, and very few of them had any sort of specialization. Treatments were rudimentary for the most part, and there was still heavy reliance on bleeding to treat infections. I trust I don't have to tell you that doesn't work very well at all. The instruments they used probably didn't look much different from torture devices, which makes that sound a bit like a visit to my dentist, really. Of course, there were people who began to take a deep and genuine interest in the application of scientific principles in pursuing knowledge of medicine. They would document and share information with their peers to increase the collective knowledge, generally a good idea, which led to general increase of the quality of diagnosis and treatment. Unfortunately, things only improved very slowly. Since you're thinking or just popping in because you're feeling under the weather, it might be best to wait a century or so. Oh, I've got a bit of tea, ain't you? Right. Hunters. Hunting in colonial America represented a significant point of contact between settlers and Native Americans, and was a fundamental part of both colonial and native cultures. Hunting was both lucrative in the primary way to produce food in isolated areas. Hunters would roam the vast expanses of the frontier, tracking and hunting game. It would in turn yield good profits, at least if they didn't want to try to cheat you out of it at the local trading post, which I'm sure never happened. In fact, for the trade was one of the most reasons that the European settlement of the frontier moved so quickly. Pelts were in high demand in England and France. Alright then. Lumberers. You may have noticed in your travels that the frontier has rather a lot of trees. That turned out to be very handy for the colonists because you needed lumber for pretty much anything, from ships to building to furniture, or simply to heat your home in the winter. Lumbering developed into a trade fairly quickly. It was both a dangerous and low-paying job that generated tough, hard-working folks. It's now somewhat symbolic of the hardship settlers had to face establishing themselves in North America, because Europeans basically demolished all of their large forests. That's why they went to America, because there was big forests. Miners. Benjamin Franklin once said that North America has no mines, which was rather silly of him because it actually did. However, I'm telling you this to show you that there weren't very many miners. The cost of transport and the vast distances over which mined ore had to be carried discouraged anyone by the most enterprising, and given the amount of work the average colonist had to do from day to day, you would frankly have to be very enterprising or very desperate. Oh, I didn't finish that one. Closed it down, I didn't finish it. Let me just scroll down. However, during the Revolutionary War, imports of metal were scarce and sort of necessary for basic tools like guns, so mining as an industry picked up. Most mines were used to dig copper and iron. Miners worked in extremely difficult conditions, often under the threat of raids from the local indigenous peoples. They were usually low-wage foreign workers with few other employment options, so desperate then. Tailors? Oh, wait, tailors. Cloth formed the largest import during the 18th century, and tailoring was the largest trade in metropolitan areas for an even longer period. Since togas had long since gone out of style, tailors were necessarily Since everyone the cloth turned into clothes. That makes no sense. I don't know. A few changes here I would make personally. Yeah, it's quite funny about togas. Togas are what the Greeks wore sort of like a good 1700 years before this. Tailors dealt with people from all walks of society, men, women and children, rich or poor, taking their measurements and producing tight-fitted garments. Those would often be of similar design, only the fabric in which they were cut would make the social standing of the wearer. Ooh. Social standing. Documents. I'm guessing it's a newspaper. It is, and I'm giving you 5 guesses what's it going to be about. Oh, it's actually 2. The first one's what I guessed anyway. The Battle of Chesapeake. All, as readers of this paper have learned, a French fleet under Admiral de Grasse, Admiral de Grasse, has recently sailed from the Caribbean to blockade the English force under General Cornwallis at Yorktown. On Wednesday last, September 5th, the British fleet arrived, numbering some 19 ships of the line. The French fleet, said to number 120, promptly sailed out to engage the British. This writer observed from a precipice as the two fleets engaged in the distance. It was clear that the French were having difficulties maintaining battle order. Their centre lagged behind, providing a clear opportunity to the British to attack and disrupt them. But the British admiral, said to be Admiral Graves, made no such attempt. A gentleman here nearby made use of a spyglass and examined that the British ships were allowing the French to close line and establish proper formation. Indeed, we all marvelled at this. Instead, the British rear lagged behind in turn and never engaged on this day. The two fleets sailed east in line against one another, this giving advantage to the British, who would open their hatches to fire the both gun decks. The British could not, as these pitched waves would swamp them if their lower gun decks hatches came open, and thus their 32-pounders could not be brought to action. The British took the greater damage, but the battle appeared to stand off. However, they also favoured the French as the blockade remained intact. This very morning, the French have reinforcements in the person of Admiral de Barnes with 7 additional ships of the line. Reports are that Admiral Graves has set sail and is most probably returned to New York. The blockade is thus maintaining as infantry and artillery, commanded by General Washington and Rochambeau, look to besiege Cornwallis. Right, now we've got one more. I think it's one more. Just double check it's the only thing we've got left. Yes, the only thing we've got left is a newspaper, and it's a surprising one, which I didn't think was going to be one. And that is Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold, loyal to the crown. Surprising his rebel colleagues, General Benedict Arnold has made a brave attempt to bring an end to continued hostilities. Having obtained command of the fort of West Point, General Arnold met secretly with Major John Andre, an intelligence officer of the king. This sounds like it's painting Benedict Arnold's betrayal in a good light, which is very sort of backward, because obviously newspapers have always been used for political, means. So this is more towards the loyalists than the British, I suppose? Perhaps? It is difficult to obtain the true nature of the agreement they had in an affair of such emotion, but it appears that they concluded upon a transfer of some funds to Arnold in exchange for West Point itself. Many have pointed to these funds as evidence that Arnold was interested in coarse gain. Yet a man of such valour can hardly be suspected of such motives. See, it's definitely for the British. Rather, it appears that Arnold was made aware of the pecuniary embarrassment he would suffer once his commission as a rebel officer was lost, and merely took practical steps to protect himself and his wife from penury. Indeed, General Arnold's wife, Peggy, appears to have played an active role in the Loyalist turn. Several reports have surfaced indicating that it was she who first contacted Major Andre, as she has known him for some years. Sadly for the Crown, the plan unravelled. Yeah, why is it for the British? After meeting with Arnold, Major Andre, cleverly disguised as citizen Mr. John Anderson, was captured by the rebels. They discovered various papers on him, leading to his arrest. Owing to be dressed as a civilian when captured, this man who took such risks for his king was therefore hanged as a spy. Rest he in peace. Happily, Arnold was warned in time and was able to effect an escape. We are told that he has been awarded a commission in the British Army and will await to hear greater exploits of him in the future. Who writ that newspaper? That is definitely not one from... Well, it's not the Boston Gazette, I can tell you that much. Alright, anyway, I think that's all of them done. Let's just have a quick check. I hope so, because I've stopped my... It is good, yeah. I was going to say, I hope so, because I've stopped my thingy. Right, now we have just passed over the 23-minute mark, so I'm going to wait until we get to 24, just so it's easier for me. Do I need my game on anymore? I don't need my game on anymore. I'll turn it off then. Is it turned off? Still making some noise. Oh, I've just quit the game. That's alright, I'll press the button then. Prepare for the beep. There we go. Cool. Oh no. No. This always happens. This always happens to me. I've just looked up my Carpag capture and it's still showing the HMS Jersey, which was the first one I did, which means it didn't record, which means I'm now going to have to go back and take pictures. Alright, give me a minute, I'll have a little look, and obviously now you'll know. Oh dear. Yeah, it didn't work, unfortunately. Oh, I probably should have moved my microphone. I apologise if there's any loud bangs here. I'll try and be gentle with it. Oh no. That's a bit better. Yeah, sadly it didn't work. I had to... Well, you know, I had to do the stuff. I'm going to have to go back and record them as I go through them. That's fine, no, it's fine. It's fine, I'll just do it when I'm editing. Do it when I'm bloody editing. It'll be fine, I guess. Be fine. Sad face. There's quite a lot to read as well. So sad. Anyway, what is on the topic for today? Well, now we've gone on to some post-commentary. Basically means I can talk about whatever I want because there's no distinction between what I need to talk about, because pretty much everything is going to be pointless, because this is a pointing episode, which is pointing, as you good and well know. Right, so what I'm going to be doing is first we'll check Twitter to see what's going on. Probably nothing interesting. What was that game that was released ages ago? It's like it's like a top-down sort of like chess piece thing where you move a chess around the board. What was that game called? That looked cool. Something Kingdom, maybe? Too sure. So I saw a picture that looked like it, so I was like, ooh, what was that? What was that? What was that game? I can't remember. Right, let me prepare my screen for what I'm going to be doing today. So, at the moment, I'm doing some work for a short film. I've talked about it before in pointing episodes. Oh yes, actually, if you are a pointer and you have been keeping up with this information, my film that I made a script for was about a bus stop. I remember saying once before. Was going to be filmed on one group, but they didn't do it in the end. But now another group is doing it, so that's quite interesting. But yes, now I'm doing a film where I've chosen somebody else's script and I'm working with my team and starting to work towards making a short film for it. At the moment, we're auditioning actors. It's been pretty fun. Oh dear. I think I just died, didn't I? I did. Yes. So basically our one it's quite typical. I've seen it in a film before. I think the film was Take the Lead with Antonio Banderas. But basically, what happened in it was that let's talk about my film first. Let's talk about my film, and that'll help you relate to Take the Lead. But basically, there's a principal that loses his son in a car crash, and then the next scene we see is when he's at college. He's at school. He's in his office, and basically we're trying to show off the 7 stages of grief. So it's like denial, depression, anger, or bargaining, all that sort of stuff. So basically, this one he's like in shock and denial, and he's like, he puts down a photo of his son, which is him denying it. It's like, didn't happen. No, didn't happen. And then there's this commotion that's going on in a classroom next door, where there's this troubled lad who is causing a ruckus. And basically, because the guy is angry, he excludes him, and he never comes back. Well, he does, but that's later on in the film. So yeah, so he excludes the kid, and then the kid leaves, gets escorted off, blah, 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 blah. And basically, he gets kicked out of the house, which you don't see, that happens off camera. But he gets kicked out of his own house because he got kicked out of school, and he turns up at the principal's office being like, it's all your fault. Principal's house. And it's like, it's all your fault, you kicked me out, blah, 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 because of you, I've got nothing now. So the principal invites him in, so I'll find you a place to stay, because he's like got a duty of care sort of thing. But no one's answering because it's quite late at night. So basically what he does is he agrees to let the kid stay there for just one night. So obviously they do a little bit of bonding, where the kid finds a picture of his son, was like, who's this? And the principal snatches it off him like, yeah, don't touch that. And he's like, gee, sorry man. And he's like, oh, sorry, it's my son, he died, sort of thing. And then it goes up, so they go to sleep, not together, it's not that sort of film. And then in the morning they wake up and the kid is stealing some stuff, and the principal is watching him from top of stairs, and the kid doesn't know he's there, but he's watching him, he's just like giving up, he's just like, he's depressed, he's like, oh, whatever, that sort of thing. Basically, just before the kid leaves, just as he's closing the door, he catches the eye of the principal, and they sort of look at each other, and the kid feels sorry for him, and the guy's just like, whatever, man. So the kid comes back in and puts down the stuff he's stolen. He's like, it's all that, I'm sorry, And so he basically, then something clicks within the principal, and he's like, yeah, this is a kid that needs help. He's not just some little bugger. He needs help. So he sort of cancels his day at work. He goes a float day, and they go on a bonding trip, which it's explained why this is relevant in the script, but they go on a hiking trip. And then, because of how sort of isolated this thing is and the views and stuff like this, it sort of changes something in the kid. The kid's didn't know so this could exist so close to the city, sort of thing. And then basically it sort of changes for both of them in a way. And then they sort of, at the end, it's like they sort of agree to work together, sort of thing, get through each other's grief and stuff. So then they go back, and it's 3 months later, when the principal's back at work and he's writing up a report for this kid, and he's like, vast improvement, blah blah blah, keywords, that sort of thing. And basically that shows that the kid sort of progressed and sort of got better at life. And then the principal raises up the photo that he put down of his kid at the beginning of the film, and it's very symbolic of like his grief, like his acceptance, like putting his photo up. But that's our film. Like I said, we'll film it and hopefully we'll be able to put it online. And then I'll be able to link you all to it. But then I'll try and get my one up as well if I'm allowed to. But yeah, hopefully it'll be alright. But yeah, that's that. Hopefully it's all good. Let me just clear my nose. I'm not got cold, but I have within the last week or so, so I'm just relaxing. Anyway, the reason why all of that was relevant is because right now I'm working on some work for it. It's a treatment. This is like what you give to like to like a commissioner to say like, yeah, do I have the green light to go and do this? So that's what I'm doing right now. Ooh, oh, that's Landy. Oh, that's cool. So I'm just looking at my computer, my game, and it didn't save the database entries I've read off. So they're all still there. So I can actually just go through them now while I'm doing this. Oh, that's good. I'll do that. I'll do that then. Stuff the treatment. I'll do that in a minute. Let's get all this thing finished. If I can load up my Hopage capture. But anyway, yeah, the bit I'm trying to write right now is I'm changing it from my short film, my title sequence for my short film, which is a different project. It's multiple research methods will be conducted to discover what themes the target audience enjoys. I can keep that to help create a product that is suitable for them. I can keep that in. That's good. We will endeavour to fill the title sequence with familiar and relatable scenes that will resonate with the audience. So I can keep that. I just need to change title sequence to short film. See, this is how you save time. You just use stuff that you've already done and then just change it for your own method. It's basically how religion works. If you didn't know that, because Christmas is very similar to the winter solstice, which was Celtic celebration, and then when Christianity was introduced into, I think it was Ireland, basically there's an Irish priest or something who was like, no, we're going to do this because it's better to merge the two cultures together, which is, it always makes sense because, like I just said, that's the way of getting ahead in life. Blah, 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 with the audience. A series of pre-production paperwork will help generate a product that is suitable for its target audience. Will also be generated, which is what I'm doing right now. So yes, I'll keep that. Right, let me just change a few of these boxes. So I've got a box on my screen that has the text in, and it's too small. There we go. That's a little bit better. Although maybe I'm going to move that top one down because it's a little bit closer, I think. Let's move that one down. Is that good? That's good. I like that. I'm going to stick with that. Right, let's go on to the next one then. So since the early days of silent films, title sequences have been integrated into films to inform audiences of certain information. See, that is something that might need to be changed. The practice of this medium has seen a steady decline in recent years. However, films are still expected to have a title sequence, even if it lasts a few seconds long. Bus Stop currently has no title sequence at all, resulting in a need to fulfill a certain code and convention of short films. Ugh. So all of that I can't really use because that is specific to title sequences. So really I need to change that to something. The only problem is I can't remember what this box is for. Like each one has like a reason. Like one of them I think is rationality. One of them is like this one to me sounds like it's about why there is a need for it. Oh no, it was who. It was like a who, what, and why. I think it was. No, how. The middle one was how. I think the top one was what, and I think this one is why. Why do I need to do it? Why do we want to make a short film? Because I'm going to get graded on it. That's why. Ha 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 ha. That is not the reason. I thoroughly enjoy making short films, and I have currently done so before. Right, let me just go into the... I'll come back to that. I'll go and record my database entries, shall I? Right, HMS Jersey. Let's leave on that for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I felt like 10 was more appropriate. Right, so what can I do then to make that? So why do we want to make a short film? Why do we want to make a short film? Maybe. If I just get rid of all of that, because all of that is pretty poo. I can't really use any of that. Yeah, just get rid of all of it. It's gone. Right, so what I could do is I can say there's, with increasing divide between authority figures and the general populace. That's good. With the rising divide between authority figures and the general populace. See, and just to explain what that means is like, say it's like if you've got like a youth who's on the street, he's like, ugh, damn po-po. You know, he's like, not, no kid ever said that. Yeah, basically like kids don't like the police and stuff, and they're like, you know, they see it as teachers as uncool and not hip enough. So basically by saying about the increasing divide between that sort of those two places, it shows that there's a need to depict both of these demographics coming together. Yes. Let's have a cup of tea. Oh, I need to change my Stung Cheshire Bay. Just going through the list. Individuals. We had 2 individuals, didn't we? With the rising divide between authority figures and the general populace, some sort, I can't use some sort is a terrible word to use. With the rising divide between authority figures and the general populace, a need has arisen to help bridge this gap. Can I use any adjectives there? To help bridge this... negative? No, to help bridge this... A need has arisen to help bridge this... Oh, unprogressive. Is there another word for unprogressive? Let's use Google. Google. Unprogressive. Ooh, synonym, there it is. By the way, for anybody that cares, I've currently sent off my UCAS form, which basically means sent off my information to unis to get into them. I applied for 5. I've heard back from 4 of them. I've got an unconditional 1, which is where you don't have to get the grades, so you can just go straight away because they're like, either they like you so much or they've got no one on their course. I'm not sure which one, which is good. And I've got the rest of them as an interview for one in London, which is obviously going to be a good one, but I can't live down there, it's too expensive, so I've had to turn that down, but I just wanted to see if I'll get in, which I got an interview for, which is good. And then I've got conditionals for the other 2, which is where you have to sort of get the grades, which is the usual one you usually get, which is good. The only problem is I haven't heard back from the one I want to get into. I think I've actually got an interview for it now, to be fair. Like it's called an applicant day. It's called an applicant visit days. We have to go and show your portfolio and have an interview. So I'm guessing this is like the last push before they decide. I mean, my friend's already got like an unconditional there, but he's applied for a different course, which, don't tell him this, but I think that's because he went for like an obscene course where not many people would go for anyway, so they've just given it to him so they get to keep the course. I think that's how it works. But don't tell him I said that because that will make him feel bad. Anyway, yes. So where was I? Yes, I'm just waiting to hear back from that one, so it's cool. Backward, behind, checked, conservative. Conservative isn't, oh no. Feeble-minded, delayed, dense, dull, moronic. I can't use moronic. Undeveloped, underprivileged, stupid, imbecile, late, subnormal, undeveloped, backward. Maybe backward. To help bridge this backward gap. No. I suppose you could say it's backward because it's like the ancient days where people weren't educated. To help bridge this backward gap. Let's go for backward gap. Yeah, why not? By showcasing real lives of each individual By showcasing real lives of each individual, we can endeavour, spelled wrong, to showcase the reality that faces all members of the human race community. I was going to say human race, but nah, it seems too sci-fi. We can endeavour to showcase the reality that faces all members of the community in the hope of... I don't know how to end this one. How long have we got left? 40 minutes. I think it's like 43, 46. We're nearly finished. Oh no, 46. So we've got about 6 minutes left then. It's alright. I'm actually doing this in the morning. It's like 6:30 in the morning. So as long as I've done this, as long as I get this done quite quickly. I keep forgetting to change my database entry. It's a problem with doing 3 things at once. You forget to do things while you're doing it. Oh well, that's just me. 3 things at once, trying to juggle everything. So horrible. In the hope of faces all members of the community, we can endeavour to showcase the reality that faces all members of the community in the hopes of educating, informing, depicting, in the hope of depicting in the hope of depicting the secret lives. No, I want to try and say stuff like in the hope of depicting, like, say, like, by showing that teachers are like, authority figures are like real people too. How can I word that? In the hope of depicting the normal lives of the authority figures. In the hope of depicting normal lives of the authority figures. In the hopes of depicting the normal lives of authority figures. And being the same as normal people. I don't know what to say there. With the rising divide between authority figures and the general populace, a need has arisen to help bridge this backward gap. By showcasing real lives of each individual, we can endeavour to showcase the reality that faces all members of the community, in the hope of depicting the normal lives of the authority figures and the reality in a combined light, in a connected light, in a similar light, and the reality of the general population in a conjoined life. No, in a similar light. Let's try that. That makes it sound. I think that might work, you know? Right, let me go through it again then. With the rising divide between authority figures and the general populace, a need has arisen to help bridge this backward gap. By showcasing real lives of each individual, we can endeavour to showcase the reality. If I put showcase twice there, I have put showcase twice there. That's bad. We can endeavour to highlight. Does that make sense? We can endeavour to highlight the reality that faces almost... Yes. Highlight. Okay. By showcasing the real lives of each individual, we can endeavour to highlight the reality that faces all members of the community, in the hope of depicting the normal lives of the authority figures and the reality of the general population in a similar light. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'll go with that. Stuff it. Let's just do it. Sounds about right. Perfect. Right, let me just change my boxes then, like I said about earlier. Put that down a bit. Try and find the right one now. It's the bottom one. Cool, I think that first part is done then. The rest of it's pretty simple. Well, the next thing to write about is the working title. So the working title is Principles of Grief. See, it's a play on words, because funnily enough, actually, this is how sort of wide... Hold on. That's how wide our influence has grown. When we did the actual auditions and stuff, 2 of the actors already knew who we were because of our short films that we make outside of college anyway. And what else happened? And one of our guys that we film with actually helped. He's not in our class; he's in a different class. He actually helped the author of the script, who was in our class. He actually helped her to pick a title for the script, and they called it "The Principles of Grief," which is like it belongs to the principal. Like it's his grief, which obviously it sounds like something he would do because it's sort of it's quite clever. It's quite a play on words. So it's quite funny that we've picked that script and the name has been given by somebody else who we usually work with outside of college, who helped choose the name in college, even though it's got nothing to do with, he doesn't know her through us. I think they just spoke outside or something, which is quite cool because that's quite. It's like everything's connected. Yeah, but yeah, because obviously he said it's the principles of grief, like it's his griefs. It didn't quite make grammatically it didn't make sense, so we changed it to principles of grief, which is the principles of grief, but it's also a play on words because he is the principal, but it's not his grief, but it is his grief in the film. It's more about the principles of grief, which is another word for like the 7 stages of grief. Cool. Oh my god, is this me trying to capture that bloody deer? I think it is. I know we're nearly finished, which is why I've sort of stopped talking, or stopped working. Oh dear, right, well hopefully everything worked out alright. I'm currently going through all those lists again. Keep forgetting to change it, so it's probably going to be another corrupted video. But I'm getting there. It's the last little bit of the map that needs doing. Never have to do it again, which is fantastic. But yeah. Right then, well, we'll be doing some DLC very soon, so we won't actually finish the game. We'll be doing the DLC stuff, so we'll be a bit of away from this for a while. But when we come back, it won't be very long. It'll be about a month or 2 left, and they'll be done. Right, I shall see you later, assassins.